Due to the nature of the system of fame and fortune in Ascension of the dungeon, and the strict rules put in place by the interface, many who do not desire such a spotlight may indeed be holding on to more truths of Ascension that they deem not be shared. Some may attempt to unlock floors in secrecy or in clandestine groups as to monopolize progress. Perhaps, even, some already have. Welcome, travelers, to the Dragonleaf, the Teahouse where tales are told. If you like the content, leave a like in the suggestion box and a tip in the tip jar. Leave a like in the tip jar. You'd think I would know this by now. And a comment in the suggestion box to tell us how well we did, or in this case, how well we did not. Thank you for listening. And instead of a gag this week, I just wanted to say, in case anyone hasn't told you this recently, you're worth it. Just a little bit of a message. Without further ado, it's time to open up shop. Hello.
Hey.
How are all of you?
Everyone's always worth it, guys.
Just to
Maximum
clarify,
effort.
Just to clarify, we are not sponsored by L'Oreal Paris.
Thank you.
You need...
I don't know. Maybe we're just born with it. You want to clarify that one too, Damon?
Nah. They believe
Nah?
can come
Perfect.
right at us. They better not miss.
Last time, the Deviants chased after Astrid across her journey and witnessed her fall into the Red Widow, as the body of her beloved was delivered to her on eagle's wings. As they fall to ash within the forest around them, the party then defeats the Red Widow in the process. They leave the dungeon. They left the dungeon to begin a few days hiatus in the city, and they are currently resting within Vincent's trick rope domain as we jump back in. A nice little short synopsis there, this time. And now, we return to Ashfall. What do you guys do?
Well,
Gotta activate Vincent mode. Hold on.
Engage.
We left off. They had Blade of Beak's head had just poked through, and Selene had like freaked out. Is she like going to go sit back down or something?
She basically just moved away quickly enough, and when everybody began to funnel into the area, Paka like jumped into his backpack and began sleeping, and everyone began to get situated. The trick ropes themselves last an hour, so like they're not viable for a short rest necessarily, because at the end of the hour they disappear, and that's the minimum you would need for a rest. So like you guys can use them to travel back to the dungeon interface or take a short rest in this instance.
As someone who's never been present every time we use a trick rope to get back to the city, how does it work? Like at the end of that hour, does like a door just like open in the little pocket dimension and we walk through it and we come out of the dungeon? Or
when you enter into the trick rope area itself, I think you were around for one, because didn't we have a Killian kind of like little workshop trick rope previously?
No.
no,
Okay.
the first time we had one, it wasn't a rope or a trick rope. It was just a regular rope.
We as your other players said it was a workshop because you weren't here, and we used Killian's robe. So we were like, in
gotcha.
the spirit of Killian, it is a workshop.
We're channeling Killian right now. No, as you appear in, you can see that on the far end there's an arched ash gate, very similar to the rest. And none of them have been the same, but they all share the same kind of basic design elements of this runic carvings along the edge of a large archway. But there is one kind of inset into the side that has been infused into the magic of the trick rope.
Gotcha.
Well, unless we want to rest here and continue on, which I don't think is wise. Vincent will point to the back of the room, and there'll be a nice, elegant door kind of there. We can head home through there.
Sounds fine by me. No sense waiting around, right? If we're just gonna rest up.
Yeah, those stupid headstones I didn't get to read. The rest of the dead people that were on it, so there's no point in staying now.
Bless, dear, you could do with the rest. We all could, but don't look towards Selene. You too.
I feel like I'm dying. I'm so exhausted. This is honestly very exciting, though. Kind of just...
If it helps, dear,
No
and
way.
Vincent will lift up his fingers and strum a couple keys. It's a nice little eloquent tune that rings out, Selene will start floating. Does this help you with your feet? Oh, she needs to roll a Constitution saving throw when she wishes to resist this.
I think as the energy begins to lift her, she doesn't, but she's still not sure. So you can see that she immediately tries to like move forward. Did you cast levitate or fly? I don't think you have levitate. Oh, you did? Okay, then she tries to move forward, and you can see her begin to just kind of shift and rotate in air.
Vincent will move forward, and he'll put his arms out to like hold her bridal style, and he'll carry her out through the door.
Is this? Are you saying I'm too heavy to just do this normally?
Yes.
I'm wearing armor. I'll take it. She leans in and kind of just begins to look over at everybody and realizes how many eyes are on her in this moment. And she's like, why don't you could just push.
He'll put her in a normal position, kind of like she's hovering beside him, and he'll just like hold out a hand for her to take instead.
Reaches out and grabs it.
And he'll move forward and kind of essentially a balloon drag her along.
You can see like a fawn just beginning to get its legs. She's like kind of awkwardly moving and trying to like almost step forward before eventually she just brings her feet together and begins to hover. Literally just bounding like a balloon following behind you.
In the back of her head, she's going to hear Vincent say, use this as a balancing practice to you. It'll help.
I am capable of jumping between stalactites and stalagmites in the center of open caverns. I'm just not accustomed. I mean, I've been underwater, but this is different. Fine. Is this something I'll have to get used to?
This particularly, not necessarily. But I think it will help, if I wish to teach you how to dance later.
Just goes silent and continues to face away from everybody as you guys reach the elegant doorway.
I picture Killian and Matilda are walking behind them, and Matilda looks at Killian and is like, do you have any wind spells on you?
No.
Oh, pity. Okay, let's go.
Rolled perception for Selene. A moonbeam does not spark above you. As you all begin moving towards the doorway, you begin ascending the staircase that leads out of the trick rope domain, and by the time you reach the first steps of the interface office, as per tradition, you're not entirely sure when it happened or how it happened, but the stairs begin to move downwards. And as you descend back into the interface, you find yourselves standing in front of, it's still rather raucous here. You can see that from Sylvia's previous explanation of what's going on, there's been some kind of an advancement within the dungeon's higher floors, and there is some kind of strange happening going on. So it's drawn a lot of interest from a lot of families, and you can see some people decked just to the teeth in fine gear as they begin to move towards the dungeon's entrance. Paying no heed, the quest board just bustling. And you all take your first steps down into the area. I will need everyone to roll perception.
So you said there's more finery here than usual?
There's people dressed in more finery. More expensive gear.
Okay.
The big boys are coming out to play.
Matilda, looking over towards the board, you take note that there is another message in a similar black stationery that had previously been posted to you by Morrigan.
Oh, okay. I go get it.
You grab it, and there is only 3 or 4 individual characters on it. As you pull it off the bulletin board and flip it open, you can see that they're similar in style to the ones that you have, this strange cipher. But as you look at them, you feel like this is almost either another message or a same piece to resolve the image. Like another piece of the puzzle.
Right, I tuck it away, annoyed that I can't read it.
You all find yourselves here. Basically, you're almost shoulder to shoulder with people, but for the most part, it's orderly. Several lines leading through, and like the rest to the left of the immediate interface. Just to give you an idea of the space, you have tables and chairs. It leads into the back, kind of around the corner, where there's a lot of different administrative stuff. In the back right, you have the main large kind of just storefront where all of the dungeon interface workers are and are just running around. And then you have these lines leading straight to the front door. And as you guys kind of look, the doorway opens and just is kept open, and the line just continues out the door.
Do we think that we could talk to Sylvia, or do we think she's probably overwhelmed with other people at the moment?
You can certainly try.
Only group, or is she juggling other families?
From what you understood before, she messed something up, and then she had lost a lot of her clout within the area.
Understood. Okay,
well, let's go try to find her.
Yeah, Killian would like to go straight for her.
You stride up towards the front of the gate. You find... Actually, I'm going to have one of the two of you, Vincent or Killian, roll a fate dice.
Go ahead, Bianca.
16.
It's favorable.
Moving into the area and striding forward towards the interface office desk, you can see that there's people kind of in line that immediately just take offense to you guys striding forward. And there's both a quiet mumble and also just this constant low groan that begins to move throughout the entire area as you move up towards the entrance. And there's not the entrance, sorry, the desk. There's various different people behind the desk who are looking over towards you and are just like, I'm afraid you'll have to, after a few seconds, you just hear, no, they don't have to do anything. And Sylvia, you can just see hands behind the desk running as Sylvia makes her way around the corner towards you. And it's just like, okay. There are no rooms. Did you have something you wanted to talk about?
Was there any results from the call that I put out?
There were. That's actually something that we should probably talk about in private. If there is, I'm just gonna go on break. I'm gonna go on break. She yells out loud, and people are just like, "Yeah, we don't need you here." Points towards the massive line. She's like, "Oh, good." Turns and begins to move out, and just kind of grabs a coat, throws it over her shoulder, and begins to hobble towards the entrance.
If you guys wish, we could always head down to the family home and have this discussion.
Sylvia, how long is your break? Do you have time to go down that way, or should we find somewhere closer?
She just turns and looks over at the line, and she's like, I know a blacksmith near here. That's not very useful, is it? Tell you, let's go to the other side in the Cobble Den, and we'll head to the Sharpened Tongue. It's a show theater. And then we'll talk a little bit there.
Okay.
Lead the way, dear.
Actually, she makes her way towards the front entrance and then just swivels 180 degrees and begins to move back through the administrative stuff. And is like, just follow me, it's totally fine. As long as we're together, you can come this way.
If it's not secretive in any way, could you explain why Invisible just like look up, make an obvious gesture at the fact that the interface office is just full? What's going on?
Yeah, absolutely. We can walk and talk. And then she makes her way through. As you guys are passing through the area, lots of closed doors, and you can see several of these doors significantly more... Killian, you take note of this with your proficiencies, but significantly more fortified than the rest. Making your way through this long hallway, eventually you reach a staircase leading down, and exiting out of the staircase, you find your way into the main thoroughfare of the dungeon. Just this massive open cobblestone courtyard across the way, until eventually you enter into the other interface office along the western gate. And this one, giant. Open space, trees surrounding a large open canopy on the top, and a central circular interface desk with people still just hustle and bustle. Moving all the way through, eventually you find yourself in the open streets. And she looks towards you, Vincent, and she says, on the... it's just past the 20th floor. There seems to have been a discovery. Some kind of a statue. And that has been leading the charge, moving people up towards the dungeon's entrance. Something has changed within the dungeon, and that's driving a lot of interest. Especially several of the guilds have taken a lot of interest on the interior right now and are spending big gold to make sure that people get up to snuff.
I'm assuming we don't know what the statue is, dear, since you've paid someone for that information.
It's been pretty documented so far. Several guilds and groups that have already had footholds on the 20th floor have submitted quite a few reports to the guild, but it's not exactly something we can share.
Understandable.
Making your guys' way through the cobble den. Eventually, you find yourself in a small show theater. Small building, square, several different...
Does Vincent recognize it?
Go ahead and roll performance, an intelligence performance check. Looking at it, it looks like two buildings on the side, flanked, and then two buildings kind of just jammed together to sandwich it into one large square building. With an 8, I don't think you've got this far over into the city often. Yeah.
It's not 8. For some reason, when I'm switching the stats, it doesn't add them anymore. So the trick I was doing before doesn't work. That's a +6 to that.
Okay, so 14.
Mm-hmm.
I would say you're probably familiar with it, but you've never been here. I don't picture your characters having come to the Cobble Den very, very often.
Yeah. Well, as of late, he's been coming more so than usual when he has free time because of the Valentine family. But he's never been here, but he's heard of it, right?
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
A small show theater. It's nothing of special renown. It's just one of the ones that are kind of within this area. You do know, with that same role, of the Dancing Devil, which is a much more popular show theater along the northern piers of the Cobble Den up here.
Cool.
As you guys enter in, Sylvia kind of just gives a wave, and you can see there's another halfling at the back who's just like, gives a very obvious clandestine wink, and then she kind of moves over to the side at a small table. You guys are sat down, and Sylvia's given just like, on the house. Round of waters is handed to everybody. And then she looks at you all and she's like, he thinks that's funny. Anyway, so how was your latest dive? How's everything going? You see there's like, with your passive, Vincent, you can see that there's just a little bit of worry on her face.
It is good, dear. We just, we came back quickly to go speak to our god. Might have, well, our bonds are bothering us, so.
Oh, well, that's lucky. In a good way, I hope.
Yes, dear.
Awesome. So you'll be 3rd rank soon, right?
Hopefully.
Good. She like smiles and just laughs about that.
Insight check that. Is there a reason she wants us to be 3rd rank or to get stronger?
You're pretty aware at this point that your guys' success equates directly to hers.
Yeah.
But it also means more responsibility, so you can see this duality on her face.
Okay.
So, I want you all to be careful in the dungeon. Something has changed within it. There's been talk and strange happenings. People are repeating floors. There seems to be they leaving things in locations and being able to actually find them again, which is not something that's happened before. Up until this point, it seemed nigh on impossible, but guilds and groups seem to be scattered. People are going in together and leaving apart. And there's been ambushes of monsters not commonly seen within the dungeon's floors. There's been talk of monsters that themselves have rivers of this silvered liquid that are incredibly powerful. Have you seen anything of the like?
Not silver rivers, dear, but we'll note it if we see it.
If you see them, you should probably attempt to avoid contact. I've been hearing rumors from 3rd rank of grievous wounds.
You don't think this could have anything to do with us, do you?
I like to hope so. And she like sits back and she's like, I'm a part of this whole tale y'all are telling, and if you're some kind of amazing world-shattering catalyst, that means I am too, you know, and that's exciting to think about.
To a degree, dear.
When did these reports start?
Now, let's wait for the show to start. And then she sits back and kind of looks. She taps her eyes for a second, and then looks over towards you, Vincent, for a second.
I'll connect in with her head. Is that what she's insinuating?
She says, "Do you have?" This is weird. It's like my head is echoing. Is that a common thing? Do you have the ability to see invisible objects? Any of you?
Vincent will connect with Killian and Matilda and ask them this. Unfortunately, dear, I don't think so. Not right now, anyways.
All right, I understand. She leans back and begins to just kind of look about. Actually, when you connect back into her head, she's like, "So anyway, that's basically the reason that I wanted you to ask and to see." And then, like, just not having realized you ever left the connection. But upon completion of this minor ramble, she just kind of begins to speak in earnest. And she looks towards you and says, "Is it all right if I speak to you and we convey the information to everybody else?"
That's fine, dear. I have a request, though.
All right.
He'll look over towards Killian, noticing that she's kind of nervous and stuff. Would you mind answering her questions first? It might ease the room for some more serious talk after.
Of course. She looks over towards Killian and is just like, "So?" Without ever explaining the conversation that her and Vincent were having.
Ian's just been drinking the water that was provided to them, and kind of chewing on the front of the cup.
Oh, right. Sorry. You had questions. Let's start with your first question. Or third, your choice, but I usually like to start at the beginning. First you wanted... Was there... Okay. She turns towards the show stage and is just like, "Next!" Screams as this piano, the pianist just kind of stops playing, and you can see several people on the stage just begin to, ah! The pianist kind of gets up and begins to move as another halfling just begins to shoo them off, and they leave as a third person comes in, and you can see them now looking incredibly nervous. Sylvia staring them daggers. They sit down. Start playing the song, engage the crowd. You can see Sylvia's just like, "Yeah, that's louder, that's more distracting."
It's like an
And she
iPod
sits in.
shuffle.
It's a ruthless show stage, what can I say? She leans in and she says, "We have to just make sure that we're quiet. This is not exactly something that I can share. But do you know about the unseen eye?"
What character do we?
You and yes, Killian, you may roll just a straight intelligence check.
Would Vincent be able to ask Carson about this?
Carson is entirely unaware what she's talking about.
19.
19. Leaning back, you think back on your time within the dungeon, and you do faintly recall during your trip down that there was talk about people in the shadows. There was talk about those that were protecting the descent. And though the descent was not without hitches when you had exited the dungeon into Amaranth, there were sounds outside in the forest, and a brief mutter and mumble of an unseen eye ever watching. She leans in and she says, "They're a group that operates within the dungeon. At the behest of the Iris and Argental, they are the ones who picked up your call to arms, which alone is worrisome. They're somewhat of an elite unit. They go in to ensure that divers are operating to code, if that makes sense, ever watching, and they're kind of like an eye in the background. They the fact that they took interest in this worries me a bit. I feel like something more is going on than is being told, even to us. And that's worrisome. However, this Yaga, the word is that the mission is still ongoing. There has been nothing turned into the interface office as of yet, but that's a good thing. If the eye hasn't found a body or anything like that by this time, then that means that now it's a pursuit. And you don't need to worry, they will not interfere in anything. If they find this Yaga, it will be as the contract deems, always. So they are safe. This Yaga, do you know if he was with anyone else?
He was. There were other people that were taking him through, but they abandoned him, or left him behind, or forgot him. There were other people, but I hope they don't find him. I think there were other goblins as well. 2 of them.
All right. None of that it seems particularly cause for concern, so I don't think you need to worry too much. Vincent, you can tell that she's just trying to make Killian feel better.
In the back of her mind, dear, it's probably polite to be honest. She can take it. Though, try to be somewhat less blunt with it.
But there is something happening in the Bloodgate village. And it seems big. I don't know what groups or what people are involved. I don't know most of anything. It seems to be attempting to be kept under wraps, but it's something grand scale is changing within the dungeon. Have you all noticed any inconsistencies or consistencies, I suppose, within the dungeon? Anything strange?
Well, the dungeon itself is a bit odd, but still somewhat new, so if we came across it, I don't know if we would recognize it.
I understand. Make sure you keep me posted. Anything pertinent, and I might be able to look into that for you. I've come to care about you kids, so make sure that you're safe.
There was a lantern to track creatures left behind in a chest. The first time we were pushing forward. And it was tracking elementals. It wasn't a dungeon item. It was someone had brought it and they had left it behind.
It's not entirely uncommon. Sometimes people with the capabilities of summoning other entities leave lanterns of tracking behind so that other party members might be able to rendezvous. But they would have to have been on the same floor to begin with, which is odd. Else the odds that they would find that are 1 in 1,000.
Well, you said yourself that things are weird
Changing.
and that people are finding things that they've left behind that they shouldn't be able to find, right?
Party members are going in together and coming out on different floors.
People are already aware of how to manipulate the system.
Whether or not, I like to think we might have something to do with this, but if we didn't, then we need to move a little faster. Some things that are changing, some things that are leaking through that weren't before. And I don't think we'll really understand quite how much it is until we reach the higher floors. So, thank you for this information, dear. But it's about time we head out.
All right, did you have any further questions or anything?
My question was, when did these reports start?
The reports of everything going a little bit hinky started probably a bit over a week and a half ago, perhaps. It started to go a bit more public a few days after that, and then things got really hectic within the interface. Seems like I took note that a lot of the district leaders had taken quite a bit of interest in this, but a few even who aren't typically moving have begun to send in. I've seen envoys of elves moving into the dungeon, which is incredibly rare to see in such a disorganized manner. It seemed like they were moved quickly. I've also seen Shar's family, which for the most part, Shar and Saloon are just fighting constantly and don't afford to send just about anybody on errands. And see that many Shar adventurers is odd.
Does the date that she mentions correspond with any of the things we did inside the dungeon?
Nothing in particular that stands out especially.
Don't think we were in the dungeon a week and a half ago. So. Well,
You see the halfling server who had walked up previously approaches and is just like, like anything to eat? Any food? Any, Sylvia's just like, I don't think so. She stands and begins to move and he's like, oh, well, okay. Watches Sylvia stands and just like grabs her coat, throws it over and begins to move. She's like, thank you for the water. It was, water. And then begins to leave.
In the back of Sylvia's head, is this place something of... Is he an acquaintance of yours? I'm just curious why you chose this place.
I just know it. I'm here quite often. He's a little bit odd, but he's a good fellow. You don't need to worry about him too much. He might ask a lot of questions, but just don't answer them.
What would you rate this place? In terms of its music and its performance. I've heard of it. I haven't been, though.
She turns and looks towards the stage, and to answer your question, says, next! People in there just like, I rather liked this one, but send him off! As people in the back just begin to, once again, the shuffler begins to move in towards the stage as they just try and finish their song before standing and being moved off. Then she gives you a smile and she's like, it's actually very fun. I like being part of the show. And then she makes her way towards the door.
Vincent will smile down at the individual. He'll leave a gold on the table and we'll head out.
This is a 5,000,000% tip for this water. I'm going to frame this. He takes it, puts it in his lapel and smiles.
I like to think that it's canon that Vincent makes Yelp. Because he's like, how would you rate this place? What are your reviews?
Well, the music he was hearing was pretty mediocre, but they could have certain times where they bring out the good stuff, and he just wanted to check. So,
you guys exit out into the cold streets of the Cobbled Den. There's kind of constant just water that just suffuses this entire area, being surrounded by moving waterways. It fills the entire area with a scent of fresh water.
Carson, get us a fast card.
Of course, I had already sent for, well, me to bring a carriage to the interface. It should likely be on the other side. Shall I return?
Yes. We'll meet you there.
He just disappears.
Vincent will turn around. Well, we have a cart waiting for us in this direction, so should get on our way. Thank you, Sylvia, for your time.
Sylvia's like down the street by this point, and she's like, oh, of course, anytime. And begins to just like humble jog back to the interface.
I guess her breaks are not that long. I'll start heading over to the carriage.
You guys enter into the carriage that has been created, brought to you. You find your own kind of family carriage, 2 horses astride, and at the front, the half-elven boy who's now wearing kind of this just ever so slightly fancy kind of tweed vest get up and long pants, and he just gives a nod of his paperboy cap.
What was his name again?
His name was Fairlin.
Anything happen, Felon, while we were gone?
No, sir. Not that I am entirely aware of. Would you like me to keep you posted on things like this? Lavos was... there was quite a bit of banging coming from the inside of the house, but that's about all I recall. The plates and dishware and such are, mended, as it were. In case you all wanted to break them again.
It's fine, dear. In
That's
the
great.
back of his head, he's gonna hear, I wouldn't mind being kept up to date. Anything goes on when we're not at the family home, I'll make sure to tip you accordingly.
Bean told me to expect something like this, he says in his head.
Where's the little bugger? Do you know him? I haven't seen him around for a while.
Bean right now is likely in the rack, sir. That's where he spends most of his time with his mother.
Do you mind sending him down? See him? I'd like to ask him to do something for me.
I'll send a missive, sir.
Thank you.
Leans back, jumps off, carriage door opens, and all of you are ushered inside.
I toy soldier Bladebeak and join in the carriage.
Fairland just kind of watches this happen. And it's just like... Shores up. Yeah.
And magic.
Says, small bits of fireworks, just like in individual brief utterances burst through his hands. He's like, I know a little something about magic. Shores, like, that's just the most impressive thing he can do. And then hits the reins as you all begin to move through the city.
Matilda, what do you make of this? You think it's something related to anything we've done, or do you think it's just more unfolding of the mysteries? Maybe...
Bit more research. I'm not entirely 100% sure. It doesn't correlate with the dates that we've been in there. But it seems, my theory is if you follow the story, you're less likely to run into things that go differently. Because every time we seem to follow Astrid, things seem to progress the same way each time. But it's only when we don't follow her that things start to fall apart and get weird. If that makes sense.
I haven't noticed anything particularly odd, though. I don't have anything to compare it with, but I understand what you mean. It makes more cohesive sense when you have the story.
Is the
Yes.
silver rivers? Is that like the potions that we saw?
Do we
I was
see any What do you mean? Sorry, just to jog Bianca's
Yeah,
memory.
the potions from when we were doing JoJo's like loyalty mission with her mother. There were
Oh,
people that when they drank these silver potions gained like immense strength and like durability.
yeah.
For
if-
that,
Yeah.
in regards to that, you've seen the yellow and red potions, which seem to cause like something odd going on.
Mhm.
But the for the silver rivers, that was actually like almost like a silver-looking stone that they crushed and almost like injected into their own
Oh, I
body.
see. Right.
But that does absolutely ring a chord with the same things that Sylvia has been saying.
When they injected themselves, did their veins turn silver or anything like that, or was it just?
Like all the way from the arm all the way down the body until eventually one person gained just an entirely new form. It became almost like an elemental in some way.
Right.
That's when we fought those creatures in the alleyway, right? When we were trying to get into that.
No, that was the red one. He's
Okay.
referring to when we were just before the jellyfish fight, when we were fighting in the mines.
Doing the mines? Yeah.
Some of the dudes injected themselves and became stronger. Interesting. Well,
That would
we'll
be
keep
my-
this in mind. And they might be related. And if that's the case, then I expect us to come across some enemies for these destinations. So
I think lines of the dungeon and the outer world are starting to blur, or there weren't really that much of a separation to begin with, and now it's getting more out in the open. People are trying to harness it to do things. We discovered that the one potion was they're trying to develop it to only affect humans, and now there's a bunch of elves that are going into the dungeon, and
Yes, actually, speaking about that, Matilda, I have a particular friend who's of Elvish descent. I don't actually know how old he is, but he could maybe do me a favor, depending on the situation. He's not an adventurer himself, so he might not have a lot of information, though he might have information on his own kind. That would be beneficial to you. Would you like me to put in contact?
Yes, I any information is good information, so I appreciate that.
I'll see into it. And in the back of his head, Carson,
Of course.
he just smirks.
You arrive in Old Town. As you stride forward, you can see that you can actually hear first the banging that Fairlin was referring to, and with each kind of just hit, it almost resounds throughout the area, just the sound of metal hitting wood. And each time he just kind of he kind of waits, and then a few seconds and the anticipation builds, and he's like as one finally bursts out afterwards. And as the carriage pulls up towards the side, you can see the horses themselves are mildly spooked. And then, upon exiting, you take a look over towards the front door where you see a figure just sat on the front stoop, looking forward, clutched and hunched over. You can only see them from the back, hood up on top of a kind of like pale white blue cloak, and just waiting.
Just giving a vibe and scan of the person. Does it seem like a mirror trying to trick us again, or does it seem like an individual we have not encountered?
Say roll insight.
Vibe check this person on our door.
21.
21.
Matilda
This
would. Oh,
should,
sorry.
this should probably be a perception check.
Okay, I'll do that first.
Yeah. You have advantage with your 21 insight, however. Okay, perfect.
25.
25. As you look towards the individual, the body shape, though different, doesn't make like much of a difference to a mirror, as you have seen previously. But the demeanor as they sit seems to be like just from here, nearly impossible to tell. However, with the 25, that is a near impossible check. Looking at them, you determine this to be someone else. The method doesn't seem right. Amir wouldn't expose herself like this. And Matilda, you had your hand raised?
I am wondering, are they alive? Do they look like they're breathing, or does it like anything indicate that this person is just a dead body on our doorstep?
You may roll perception as well. Vincent, you can see with your perception check that they are slightly moving. But Matilda, as you glance over, you can also see that they are quite alive.
Okay, cool. Just checking.
The
Fuck,
Vincent
a
will...
natural 20 on that. Damn, wasted it. Waste.
Well, sometimes it's good to know if they're a corpse or not. Vincent will step out of the carriage. Welcome to our lovely family. Who are you?
The head peeks up, turns around, and you can see the top portion of the face is just covered in a black bandana. Somewhat kind of like just somewhat orangey tan skin, kind of leaning down, and a kind of quivering lower lip that you can see is just chapped. They stand and they begin to move forward, but as they turn themselves, you can see the item they were clutching in their hand is the shard that you had previously buried at the base of a mountain, Matilda.
Oh, uh-oh.
And slowly they begin to move forward, and they say, Are you residents of this house?
We are.
Just name yourselves.
I would say, since you're on our property, you name yourself first.
Roll intimidation.
Can I grant advantage by just kind of like unslinging my rifle? Not pointing it at them, but just kind of like, having it out and ready.
Here's what I can say. From what you can determine, and the bandana covering their face, they are not capable of seeing you guys.
Gotcha.
Like, take it off and cock it so he hears the...
Yeah, how about
Advantage. Oh god, that's terrifying.
It's only a 15.
15 is more than enough. You see them begin to back away, and they kind of raise a hand, and they're like, very well, okay, we don't need to get We don't need to get any particular thing. My name is Ivan. I recognize your voice. I don't know if you recognize me. And they reaches forward and pulls off the bandana. And the individual you see before you, you do recognize. During your fight with the Fury Spawn, quite a while back now, there was an individual who was just running back and forth, desperate to gain the attention of the Fury
random
Spawn.
cult member we left alive.
That is this person. However, a vast difference in that the face, both of the eyes have just been burned clear out of the socket. You can just see scorch marks across the face. And then, like, just puts the bandana back on as he hears the just revelation sighs. And begins to say, my name is Ivan.
Well, Ivan, we do recognize you. And I'll look towards, like, Matilda and Killian. I'm assuming you're not here to cause any more trouble.
I am here for the prophetess. I wish to speak.
He turns. Matilda, I think that's your title.
Well, it's the false prophetess, not the true one, but...
If you say so.
We buried that, Killian.
Yeah, I recognized it right away.
Why do you have that?
Shall we talk somewhere else? I'm rather thirsty. If you've any water to spare.
Yeah, what happened to your eyes? Did they burn it out as punishment?
You can see, like, parched throat, he leans forward and kind of sits down. And, it is not punishment. It is a retribution for my failings. I had true opportunity, and I squandered it. This is my punishment, but it is also my blessing. I know this now.
Well, I think we can handle him if he does anything hinky. Feel free to come in. Vincent will go to the front and open the door and step in the back of his head. Toss in, and Vincent will spend a first level spell slot to cast Unseen Servant. Pass some beverages for our guest.
Here's the fun thing. The Unseen Servant appears, and then Carson on the other side of the door, as you open it, also gives a bow and brings his hand to his chest, and then in tandem, as the servant appears, Carson kind of, like, glances over. You see a faint glimmer in his eyes of just hellfire. And then he just reaches over a hand behind the back of the Unseen Servant, just like, right this way, and begins to lead your magical force of butler towards the kitchen to help him in procuring those drinks. You find, as he enters in, he's holding onto this shard, just clutching it to his chest, and it's letting out this faint moonlight. As he moves towards the doorway, he almost bumps into the center of it and kind of just, like, jerkingly moves off to the side slightly, as though to avoid
I offered them
it.
a gloved hand.
He reaches a hand out and says, I am not worthy. And then you can see him kind of, like, recognize that you bring your hand towards him, and then kind of grabs around until he finds it. As you lead this individual into the house, and he sits down on a couch and just begins to, like, glance around briefly. Like, one of the lizlets moves in slightly and just looks up towards him from a distance, and just now and then you see a second one appear in the corner as they just begin to watch. Slowly they move up the side of the walls and just begin to stare at him from the roof. And he just begins to speak. Says, I apologize also for requesting that you announce yourselves. It was unbecoming of me. I beg your pardon. My name is Ivan. And you know, I think, why I am here. When I followed the prophet, the false prophet now, I believed in our cause, in the repurposing of the world. And I believed in his words, and now I see that to be foolishness. They were driven by greed and nothing else. Impure, and that is why the spawn decided to do away with him, as he did, and offer himself to you. I see this now. I had bound myself to the spawn, and under him I gained great powers. But also, there was a euphoria to it all. A rest. And I became complacent. That is my sin. And that is where this comes from. I believe it was my failings in recognizing you when you arrived. I want nothing more than to serve. He holds up the shard and says, This was granted to me. A vision. I went to the foot of a great mountain where I unearthed this boon. And I beheld the Fury herself. In this vision, my own was taken from me. Her majesty burned into my mind, literally. I know, that you are the prophetess, the one who is to lead us. I was unable to see this, and now I will see nothing else. He again holds the shard to his chest. Says, I do not know what use you could get from me, but I pledge myself to you. Now, here.
Where will I lead you? Lead you to what?
To the final repurposing. To a new world. A better world than this.
Lillian tugs on your sleeve, Matilda. And just kind of motions for you to come down so she can whisper something in your ear.
One.
They had something to do with the potions and stuff, right? Maybe this guy knows about that stuff. Maybe he could lead us to whoever's planning it. Maybe he knows where the goblins have been taken. It all kind of trails together, but maybe he could even tell us who that elf was.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as you started whispering, like a half second in, you see he literally just starts to cover his ears.
Right. He's blind. Yeah, good.
Well, I don't know if you have these goals, Matilda, for the future, to lead some sort of contingency that believes you are this prophet of some sort. But if you do, it seems you have a follower.
I will take you up on your offer at this moment, because the way you can serve me right now is with information.
He falls to his knees off the couch and just holds the shard to his chest as he leans forward and he says, Thank you. I am humbled. Thank you so much. You've given my life meaning in but a few words.
That's a good starting point, but you really gotta make your own meaning at the same time.
If that is your command.
Okay,
What
my
questions
first-
have you?
Well, first, let's do this, and I make sure that they've eaten and that they've been fed, and I do a full inspection to make sure that there's nothing that's bleeding or infected or anything crazy.
Roll medicine. Do you have proficiency in Arcana? I don't believe so.
No, I don't, but I am proficient in medicine.
Absolutely. Go ahead and roll that medicine.
Can I guide myself?
Oh yeah, you have time.
Oh, there we go.
Ooh.
They're very healed.
You wasted the
Or you-
last one, and you were vocal enough that the game was like, okay. What were you saying, Damon?
I was just gonna say, you either super heal him or you super know what's wrong with him.
You didn't even know this, but you got some bad something going on right
He's
up
got
here in your
syphilis.
ear. So you got to fix that too. No, as he leans back, you, for the most part, he's emaciated. Doesn't seem like he's been eating or drinking. You're not entirely sure how long he was outside the manor, but Fairland didn't seem to know about him. He probably would have mentioned a cultist hanging out outside. So you assume he's been here relatively recently, but for the most part, when you actually pull off the bandage and begin to examine his eyes, there's like char. The body, the face itself has been just torn. But what you take note of is little white embers that still burn on the inside, as though the flame's never dying. Aside from that, and like you imagine, it's just awful. But aside from that, he's not in good health.
Well, in the back I said, Carson, are you ready with the drinks and food?
Lavos enters in at this point as well. Carson strides forward and he says, of course, I simply did not want to enter unbid. You see a bit of like veal comes in and places itself down on the side as Carson pulls out a teapot that he kind of just has fashioned with 3 individual spouts and pours 3 cups of tea across before lining them down and moving on to the next cups.
Wait, I don't want tea. I want like water. We need to parse this out because if they eat too fast or drink too fast, they're gonna make themselves more sick.
You don't want tea.
Well, I might want tea. Can we just have one extra drink that's not tea?
You see an approving look on Carson's face. Right away. And then he turns towards the unseen servant and says, chop chop. Who turns and looks at you.
Lavos, dear. Thank you for joining us. We have a guest on the premises. Assuming you knew they were here.
He came up earlier and started to talk to me about some stuff, but just told him to wait outside. He's been here probably a few hours. Didn't want to send him away, just in case something like this was going to happen.
Understood. Matilda, how long is your questioning going to take?
Depends on how many unnecessary pauses and how long this person takes to talk.
I will minimize as much of it as possible.
How about this? We let this individual rest a little bit, eat and regain a bit of his strength.
Yeah.
In
that's
the
what it was.
meantime, we can go talk with Lavos.
Lavos stands and just moves into the next room over, the separate sitting room.
We'll head over. Well, it's not too much to report, but we are ready to ascend in level. And I think it's about time that we get that going. I'd like to see what happens. So.
I'm excited about that. Do you want to do it downstairs again?
I don't know. Vincent looks around at probably the couple couches, a table, maybe some pictures on the wall. Do you care about any of these articles in case they go up in flames or something?
Oh, fire damage is hard to repair. Tell you what, let's do this one outside. We never touch the fountain out back anyway. Let's do that.
How's Mother doing, by the way?
She sent out for a little while for a ride in the carriage around the grounds. She was looking at the building. She seemed to have taken quite an interest in it. But right now she's in her room. And I got my raven taking a look after her. Making sure nothing happens. What with a fascinating individual at our front doorstep, now in our house. Takes a look over at him.
Yeah, the unfortunate thing with your mother is her burns sometimes have bad days and good days. that day.
Yes, they do.
What was the
Lavos-
banging sound that we heard as we were coming in?
Oh, it's just a bit of fortification. I can't help but think that we have a kind of like a death threat from some human bandits hanging over our heads, so I was thinking of just making the doors a little bit more, a little bit harder to pick, as it were.
Hmm.
He kind of moves over towards the doors, and as he pulls it open, you can see on the inside there's these just mechanisms from top down, some of which made of just like perpetually ticking wood, and then others you like look into the keyhole, and with your thieves tools proficiency, you can probably determine that it's went from a DC 10 to pick to like a 15. It almost seems to be like moving against you as you stare at it. Aye.
I would appreciate something very similar, even better, on the door that leads to my dungeon closet.
I can do that.
Thank you.
Might need someone with a bit more expertise. This is probably the best I can do right now. I can
Well,
I can get a locksmith in here.
If you do it this for now, that'd be great, but I think we should upgrade it eventually.
Aye.
I can take a look.
Oh, good. I'm glad the small stuff is it's hard. He looks at like the small gears and he's like, you can't fit a bed in the middle of a door, and if you could, I'd be set. But here, let's go. As he strides through the home and makes his way out towards the back, where a chill wind is kind of filling the area. It's been very fine weather for quite some time here, but you can see that it's quite overcast right now. As you stand out near the open fountain, he looks towards the lot of you and says, all right, this has been happening quite frequently. I don't know how often other gods get the chance to do this with their children, but it's a blessing, it truly is. So, yeah,
Well, I'm
who's
assuming
first?
if you're someone like Mistra who has hundreds of people or Lathander, it would become more of a burden for you.
I imagine if you're someone like Mr. Lathander, you could probably just do 1,000 at once, I don't know. Greater gods. But, sits down on the edge and just kind of like looks up towards the sky. You see him kind of glance around for a second, and he's just like, nobody in the domain. That's good. Alright. Who's that?
Should we roll?
Up
First
to
point
y'all.
of order. Did we do a short rest?
On the
At any
trek
point?
here?
Mm,
I don't think so.
We didn't have time, right?
no.
You do know that if you guys level up, though, you get, like, full refresh,
But we also take a bunch of damage, don't we?
Mm.
potentially.
Does anyone look particularly bad off?
I'm still bloodied.
Okay. The last couple times we've leveled, no one's gotten hurt except for Vincent bonking his head against the wall. But that was something different.
Not impossible.
Yeah, actually,
but-
I'm very bloody too. I have I look really shitty.
Lavos looks towards y'all and takes note of the just red coating your exteriors.
Is there
It's just like-
anything that's holding you two back right now? Or you seem hesitant for some reason.
We could do some training if you like. Go blow for a bit. Would that make you put some pep in your step?
Well, I'm just
I'm-
wondering what it is that's causing the issue.
I'm ready. I just sometimes it hurts, and I'm already hurt. But I'll be good. Let's do
Vincent, if it helps, Vincent will come up from behind you two and place his hand on either one of your shoulders. Let me lend you a hand. And you feel healing magic wash over you two, as Vincent will cast Cure Wounds. Or Healing Word, I should say.
Selena's looking at all of you just like, ooh, that's crazy. You guys seem real tired. Leaning back, she kind of just sets herself against the wall and just looks towards all of you, just offering no aid whatsoever.
How much healing?
So the most I could heal in this heal is 16, so half of that would be 8.
8.
So you take 8 instead of the 7. And that was a 3rd level spell slot. And then Matilda separately. I will roll for this one. You take 9.
Got 3 ones on that previous healing word.
Yeah.
Goodness.
Yeah.
I also would give Killian 2 healing lights. Oh, there's one. Oh wait, never mind. You get my last healing light.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay. Let's do it.
Soundly leans back and watches. You see the lizlets exit through various different windows on the first floor and just begin to also stride forward and watch.
Vincent will circle around and lean next to Selene. Start to take out his weird lute and start just strumming some ambient music for the background.
I do believe I have this. Who was first? Did I miss that? Someone say it?
I think
You want to
Killian's-
roll?
Killian?
Oh, Killian wants to go first?
Killian's like, as soon as she was healed up, she's like, okay, let's do it. But if someone else is feeling frisky, then
You begin to stride forward, Killian. And as you kind of bring yourself forward and offer your bicep, leaning over, Lavos kind of leans in, and you can see as he moves, there's almost like a resistance in his fingertips as it moves through the ash that is perpetually falling around you. Almost like sparks lifting from his fingers as he places his hand down on your bond, pulls back, and you see this just array of statistics. He stares at it and begins to think, and almost begins to move in and interacts with it, which you haven't seen happen before. You can see almost he's becoming a bit more adept with the system. Moving through and kind of just listing it off, he just expands, and you can see various different kind of things just unfold. And then as he's looking at it and you can see it, the rest of you look onward and it's just like a blur of energy.
I like to picture it as like a constellation of galaxies and stars. We have no idea what it means.
And as he's looking at this just sheet, he leans back and places a hand down as it kind of just gently begins to move into place and lands within you. The ash moves methodically and slowly before it just stops around you. And then begins to move in. You can almost hear it charging, like energy becoming that just kinetic and potential energy becoming power. And as it moves in towards you, the pain that you fully expect to hit you is replaced with this almost just childlike glee for a moment. And then this mischievousness and these ideas, thoughts. Your mind begins to reel with potential. And as the music plays in the background and the wind carries and picks around you, a calm and gentle end comes to this level as it sits within you, and new power is imparted upon you. He also looks towards you and says, I like this one. This is good. No one's head's against a wall. No one's blowing up. No burning paintings and nothing. Also, and this is exciting, you're Killian the Keeper now. You got a title. I don't know.
Looking around, like trying to find it.
You look towards it, and you can see on the inside, kind of like leaning down, and just toward the back near, as your tattoo has grown a fair bit in this second rank. You can see that on just the back of your delt, there is 2 images of actually 3, sorry. One central figure that just amounts to a small ball, and then you can see one larger figure next to it and one smaller figure to the right. Somewhat cryptic, but as it sits within there, you can feel its essence as the title has been imparted upon you.
Okay. Thanks, Lavos.
Hey. Hey, listen. What's happened in the dungeon so far? It's all... You guys have been progressing very fast, from what I understand, from what I've been hearing. Congratulations on that. A lot of the people that I've been keeping my ear to the ground, and it seems like there's a lot of people that never get past the 4th floor. So the very idea that you're able to blitz through is very impressive. I just don't want to diminish that. You've done a great job. With that, who's next? I'm excited to see. Let my family grow.
As Vincent's strumming along, Matilda feels like a little bit of a push on the almost like the base of her shoes on her heels, as a slight breeze kind of almost moves her forward.
I know that Matilda won't know what a Disney princess is, but it feels very Disney princess.
It is kind of that. Your dress
Yeah.
kind of like poofs up a little bit, and
I go forward and I take my gloves off and I give Lavos my hand.
Reaches forward, places his hands on yours, and you see the same kind of just like resistance. Sparks moving from his fingertips until eventually they lay on yours and he closes his eyes. And as... It's a little bit different. The ash around you moves in towards you, but it doesn't begin to tie into your body like it had been before. It moves to your hip, almost as though being funneled. The energy pulls from you, and you can hear just this faint and distant mumbling voices in your head as the two begin to bicker and fight, and that just fades away to a brief silence. The energy taps one piece at a time into the tome that you wield. And as the energy begins to suffuse, it begins to go hot, warmer and warmer, before that heat begins to, instead of focusing on one area, spread through your body. And like a warm chill somehow. A single shock goes through your spine as your eyes open. And new passages come to mind. Foreign, unknown. Not something that you are familiar with. You almost feel drawn to pop open the tome, as though your body's movements were taken from you, and as you do, you see that there are more pages filled in than there were before. The individual who's like just... who was over in the other room, you hear the door slam open. And he begins to just kind of like stride forward, holding on to the shard before eventually he moves into a sprint and hits the stairs and fucking tumbles forward, hits the ground, scrambles and stands and begins to move in. He hits his knees to the ground and then just looks forward and then places his head to the dirt in just reverent bow.
This new, I don't know how to feel about it.
I don't like him at all. In the slightest. I don't know what it is. Something's off.
Carson, dear, can you please escort our guest back up to the seating?
Of course. This way, my friend, we can speak of Matilda and all of her dealings. And then, like, reaches a hand down and picks him up and then just kind of shoves an arm over the shoulder and says, "Careful with the first step here. It can be rather a doozy." As he carries him back into the home. And the door gently closes behind him. Matilda, the power that you have gained begins to pour into your mind. And Lavos looks towards you and says, "Oh, 2 for 2. That's exciting. I don't know what these things do. But you are, as is known, the theologian. Theologian. It just kind of pops into my head. I don't know the proper pronunciation. As you try and scour for your tattoo, you find in whichever style your ash bond holds, the symbol of an open book.
Oh, cool.
Edge, we've heard of the Keeper before, right? At the end of one of the items that we picked up, it said the Keeper, right?
That I'm not certain about. You would have to scour through and check. But if you roll religion,
Yeah, these titles seem very in line with what the dungeon calls its what we've seen.
Oh, are you referring to the
quotes that we get when we
you
touch a
have
magic item.
you've seen the Walker, the Sovereign, the Sage. I believe that's it.
I thought okay. I thought maybe there was a keeper. Yeah. Do you want me to still roll religion or not?
Please and thank you.
Did
I'm
the
scared.
tat? Did the tattoo show up on my hip?
The tattoo showed up. Your ash bond hasn't extended far enough to reach your hip. The tattoo basically showed up like probably on the underside of your arm, I think. But even these things are not static. When they change, they shift and they can distort to fit new details and new stories. With your 18 religion check, the Keeper, as you are aware, is also... you don't know if this is any form of coincidence or not, but the Keeper is also an evil aspected god who works under Shar. He has a home in the far northwest of Amaranth that has been granted to him because it is surrounded by Odin and Bahamut, the gods of protection.
What about the theologian?
No particular connection that you're aware of. Go ahead and roll. You can all roll intelligence. I think all of you are aware. A theologian is simply a person who is an expert in theology and the study of various different theories.
Mm-hmm.
As you look towards this kind of new power and your ash bond grows that little bit more, Lavos looks towards Selene and says, "How are you feeling?" And she's like, "Oh, like shit. Oh, for like, no, I'm good, thank you."
Yeah, I asked this before. You said you were tickling yourself.
Super not
You
interested,
lying?
thank you. Absolute no.
Vincent will connect to the back of her head. Deal with your family.
Yes, but there are some things that I need to keep to myself. And it's because... Go ahead and roll a... everyone roll a group charisma check. It's not like a situation that you have actively been engaged in right now. It's simply how you have treated Selene in the past and how it is currently affecting her.
Does Vincent get a bonus or advantage for any reason?
In this
Like him?
instance, the DC has been altered based on your guys'... Yeah.
I see.
She says, it's exactly because I care about you that I can't.
That's sweet, dear. I'll respect it for now, but know that there's no reason for you to need to protect me. I'm not gonna handle any demons or not that people have within the closet.
She smiles and laughs and she's like, yeah, what about gods?
Them as well, dear.
I
of
always say
silence.
no one's infallible.
Either way, this is the case, and Vincent will stop playing his lute and put it down. Why don't I go next?
Paka runs forward, has been waiting at the doorway, and he's just like,
Yeah, it's my turn. Sorry, I'm tired.
Vincent will give a little gesture and a little half bow towards Lavos. By all means, dear.
Lavos reaches forward. Paka's just like,
Give me what you got. Give me all the spark fingers.
Lavos is just like, I don't like that you called it that. He brings his hands forward as the sparks begin to descend down. He lays his hands on Paka's shoulders, kind of just the weight that it begins to bear. Paka leans back, and it's, in this instance, it's literally just like, spoof. The ash like erupts outwards, and you can see bits of ash as it blow backwards just begin to pull themselves into pockets in his backpack. As he leans back, and it's just like,
Okay, all right. Let me have it.
he's like, right, yeah.
Done, dear.
No, it's not. He leans in and he's like, guys, can you do something? Give me some magic or something.
Vincent will roll his eyes a little bit. He's going to cast Prestidigitation and have some like sparklers go off, start like fly out of Paka.
I'll minor illusion like some, I don't know, like some magic-esque looking shit that's like, you know, like Aurora Borealis kind of like surrounding him, like, la, 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 you know.
Leon doesn't do anything. She just stands there.
As the energy begins to pour around Paka, he opens his eyes and just kind of glances around at the just show of lights and sparkles. And then he kind of just stares up towards it with a big smile on his face and wide-eyed. And then as the...
Seems very, very powerful, Paka. I can't wait to see what your new abilities are.
As the show begins to die down, he looks on towards you guys and he's like,
Thank you. I knew it was over, but that was very nice.
he begins to like walk over to the side. You actually see he seems less exhausted than he was before. And as he leans down and sits, he like pulls the straps of his backpack off and throws them down and just begins to think about what's going on. And he's like,
I'm gonna get back to you. I got so many new powers. It's gonna be great. Now you guys are gonna bring me into the dungeon even more. Like twice every time.
You mean more so than we have every time that we've gone in the dungeon, do you?
Yep, twice this time.
We'll make sure to work on that math.
I don't want to.
he begins to back away slowly in the grass. Lavos looks over towards you. All right, your turn.
Well, Vincent will give a little bow. Let's get this over with.
Matilda takes out her med kit, gets ready to heal. Then, like last time, Vincent get like super fucked up.
He'll walk over, kind of do up the sleeves on both of his arms and like unbutton his lapel a little bit and open up his collar.
He looks towards everyone. He's like, nothing to worry about. Lavos pulls like a wooden mask out of the front and just puts it on his face and then leans forward and he's like, all right, hey, come on.
In the back of Lavos's head, if Vincent can connect, if you wanted to put on a show, you could have asked me.
Oh, I'm just being a bit cheeky. He takes off the mask and tosses it into the water.
I'd like to take them out of there.
Keep it on.
It's already in the water. I don't do water. I do wood. Hey, come here. As he leans in, he reaches a hand out and places it on your chest. Sparks pouring down until eventually it makes contact. It's a little bit of a tickle about it. And he again pulls out the large sheet, the constellations chart that you now stare upon, and you can see it grow and begin to make connections.
Do you mind if I add something to it?
Mm-hmm.
As he's pulling it out, I like to imagine that it's like I said, like the sheet with the different constellations on it and stars and things that we can't read. And normally when this has happened, it's been very like it's colorful and vibrant, and there's golds and purples and things like that. Almost like akin to like an entertainer. And you see it like it's been flickering this time. Parts of it are fading a bit more into kind of gray darkness as it but ever so slightly. The colors are still very much winning.
The energy pulls around you. You see, in a similar fashion to before, it's almost as though the ash was displaying fear in the past, fear of approach. But now, as it begins to move, it just kind of slowly stops and begins to still its movement towards you via the command that has been ushered by you and Lavos. And as the ash continues to instill itself in you and you see little bits of your tattoo filling in, he looks on, eyes closed for a moment. I need all three of you to roll a wisdom saving throw.
Okay. Next time, you guys have to back up 100 feet.
God damn it, Vincent, every time.
I'm sorry, it just happens sometimes. Not everyone can be this good.
Oh, fucking hell.
In all but a moment, you find yourselves in darkness. The grass beneath your feet gone, not even in a fading moment, but just gone. You begin to move and look, trying to ascertain as best you can your surroundings, but it's inky and black, like some kind of thick smog or liquid. As you move, it's difficult, it's uncomfortable, and with each breath you can feel this dense air move into your lungs. Like you're breathing in water. You look around, and there's nothing. What do you do?
Is this, we all see each other in this space
It is
of nothingness?
pitch dark for all of you.
We can see each other.
You cannot see anything.
Hmm.
Killian's gonna take out her water skin that she had in the dungeon, and like breathe, like essentially go down like this and try to breathe in any of the empty air that was in the water skin.
For a moment, there is a respite, because this oxygen that you hold contained within this area does not have the same just disgusting feeling as it enters your lungs.
And then I'll try to hold my breath and just like kind of walk around, like trying to touch something.
Matilda
think-
probably would have. Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Matilda probably would have cast light cantrip on with her hair thing, holding up her hair.
You take 18 points of necrotic damage.
Oh, ow.
As the light at your fingertip all but just explodes, and you can feel the energy move through your forearm as like it crumples downwards. You reel back from the pain.
Do we see that flash go off, though?
Here's what I'm going to say. Everybody roll perception. Because this darkness is not normal. There's a physical presence as far as you can discern.
Right now, Vincent's, he knew something might happen, because a lot of times he's had visions or things have happened when his Ashfall has been messed with. I don't think he's resisting this. I think he's seeing what it does and where it goes. So unless something happens, like that explosion goes off behind him, I don't think he'd be doing much right now. Just waiting.
Killian, you begin to move around. You're reaching your hands out. With your 6 perception, you basically hear like the sound of an immediate burst, but you have no concept of where it came from. It's like moves around you like it's being reverberated. And as you begin to move forward, and Vincent, you kind of just accept this moment that you find yourself in. You begin to feel the faintest bit of movement in the darkness, like a wave washing over you. And you could begin to hear the sound of water moving. Eventually, you begin to hear creaking, like wood groaning under intense weight. Killian, you're stumbling forward. Go ahead and roll a d8 for me.
Bomb.
You move forward, reaching out, and you can feel your hands like bursting through the air in your lungs. Calm, nice, better than what you had previously seen. Before eventually, Vincent, you feel a hand placed upon your back. As Killian, you stumble forward enough to bump into Vincent.
He feels that. He doesn't move too much. And then I think he'll turn around and... Can he see Killian yet or no?
Still just dark.
He'll go to essentially grab whatever's touched him with his hand.
A whole bunch of little pats. And I think based on height alone, it's probably like it hits like the small of your back and then probably like goes up and down. And like if your tail's like there, it's probably
Yeah.
just like...
Actually, sorry, that's a good note. I think my tail just whips out and wraps around your hand and grabs it.
And as the tail wraps around your neck, I need you to make a Constitution saving throw.
Oh.
Vincent, I need you to make a Dexterity saving throw. Because whatever this is that has found you in the darkness begins to move in, and those hands turn to claws. Killian, a tail begins to wrap around your neck as you feel the familiar feeling of like soft silks. And then as it begins to wrap, you just immediately know something's wrong. And as with your lungs held and your just chest expanded, you pull in and you manage to tear this strange thing off of you. As you begin to move in the darkness ever so slightly away, you can hear just dissipate as though joining the water around you. Vincent, with your dexterity saving throw, you can feel the pats begin to move up almost as though like mimicking Killian's movements, and then eventually you feel just those little bits of physical contact of claws. As you move out of the way with deft movements, you can once again hear it fades off. Matilda, as you stand in the darkness, what are you doing?
Matilda probably would have shut her eyes because they're not doing any help. She can't see. She probably would just... You know, it hurts to breathe, but she also kind of knows that this is like a weirdo like situation, so she would just like pause and like listen and try to figure out what's going on, because it's weird. But I have a funny feeling that Matilda's probably had like nightmares similar to this before, where like she can't do anything, she's just like stuck in the dark. And it's not exactly like this, but I just feel like it's kind of similar. So she would like pause and wait and just like assess her surroundings and then see what she wants to do after that.
Roll perception. Everything moves about this area distorted. It's almost as though the rules that you are accustomed to do not apply here. And as you sit back and you begin to listen and you wait, you hear, Tilda, where are you? You coming from various different locations. Before eventually, wherever you are, stay right there. There. Roll insight. You do not want to stay where you are. Chill runs down your spine, and you know immediately that is not a good idea.
Yeah.
You begin to move, and you hear, "What did I just say?" As you bump into Vincent, this time for real. You feel that silken cloth, and Vincent, as this individual just kind of mires into your body, Killian having kind of just like reared back for a brief moment, all three of you just bump backs to backs.
Is my passive insight... Do I know these bodies that are on me?
19 in the movements of their bodies, I would say, unless they were attempting to do otherwise, you would. The same could not be said for Killian and Matilda potentially.
Okay. Vincent will lower his arms and place them around your shoulders, almost in sort of a protective way, and gesture for you to be closer. He's going to try and speak out loud, but he's not sure if you guys can hear him. It's me, Vincent. Stay close.
Distorted and distant, you hear.
Can Killian roll insight?
You may. Perfect.
As your arm kind of like wraps around protectively, one of Killian's hands goes like up to her throat, like to prepare for another strangulation, and then the other hand just like slaps it away, and she starts backpedaling in a different direction. Which, should I just roll a d8 to see what direction that is?
Yes. If you roll a 2, re-roll. 4, perfect.
Okay.
You begin to move in like literally perpendicularly away from the group. Vincent, if you wish to kind of grab at Killian, you can roll dexterity.
Yeah, my tail's gonna latch out and go around her waist.
All right, dex contest.
All right. Check or save?
Just a check.
Okay.
Killian, you feel a safety belt that has been well manicured and probably very, very creamed. Nice, soft and
It's
smooth.
very soft.
Wrap around your waist and kind of keep you within range.
Okay.
Killian, dear, trust me. Vincent's going to look up, kind of. Has he sensed this creature before? When he broke rank before, he saw something in the darkness. Is it similar to this?
This embrace feels equal parts nostalgic and uncomfortable, as you had seen and felt back then, staring into the what amounted to eyes of whatever this thing was. And as you find yourself in this darkness,
The darkness that is around us. You said it's almost liquid-like, right?
it is.
Vincent would attempt to, within this, he's like holding on to his Killian and Matilda, within the 5 feet around him, shape water. I don't know if I could infuse it with something, but try and like push the dark water back, basically.
Here's the fun thing. As you do that, this 5-foot area, you force it back, and it leaves, but what you're left with is a vacuum. As the air all itself begins to pull out of your lungs with this water, there is nothing there to replace it. And you find yourselves for a brief moment, and you clutch as hard as you can to remain with what is left. And as this vacuum is created around you, you hear,
Can we at least see then?
you can see each other.
Vincent will
But
mentally
beyond is
connect
just
with
a-
you too. Then if he can see you. It is me. Don't worry. I've seen this creature before. Let me try and deal with it. Stay here. I'm going to give you air back, though it's not going to be comfortable. And he'll release the shape water. He'll wait for them to respond. Sorry. Because you guys can talk mentally to him if you wanted to say anything.
Killian, just because you're speaking telepathically, right?
Yeah.
Killian just says, holding my breath.
And he'll move the shape water back down so that they can breathe again, even though it's uncomfortable. And he'll basically step in front of them where he thinks the beast might be coming from, the less like direction he heard noise.
That sound, the water, the waves, grows ever so slightly louder. You begin to hear the crashing of it. You begin to feel uncomfortable, sideways. The world itself begins tilting back and forth. You hear the creaking of wood and the groaning before eventually you begin to hear the waves grow louder. The world around you, this black liquid, rushes back in and fills those of Matilda and Vincent, fills your lungs once more. Killian, you're keeping your breath tightly to your chest. And in the distance, through the reverberation of the water, you hear... Carson has done well to find you. And his best attempts at keeping you hidden were folly.
Vincent will take another step forward. And who might you be you?
Roll persuasion.
$25.
That is no way to speak to your father. You shall do what everyone does. You shall kneel.
Well, if you're who you say you are, then I don't.
Roll an intelligence saving throw. Matilda, you had your hand raised?
Are we hearing all of this, or is this just with Vincent and?
You are hearing this. It is
Okay,
moving through
cool.
the water and is just omnipresent.
Okay.
As the spike of energy moves through your mind, you take 39 points of psychic damage.
Okay.
And you hear, kneel.
As that psychic damage rings through Vincent, you just see him kind of stand there, and he simply just says no, and then he kind of shudders a bit and tilts his head, and you see blood dripping out of both ears and then around his eye sockets as he kind of has a grimace on his face and then almost like a smile, and then he falls unconscious.
You all awaken.
Okay. Could we see that or no? Because it was still dark, right?
It was dark as soon as the water rushed back in.
Yeah.
As this connection is lost, you hear right before you go unconscious, Vincent, enough! And as you are falling and you go to hit the ground, you don't. A hand reaches underneath your back, and as you fall back, you lose consciousness. And the rest of you look over and you find yourselves back in front of the fountain. The faint burbling of water of the fountain replaces the constant oceanic waves that are pouring around you. And a sound in the background as whatever this was is forced out. You now find yourself here, once again, in the manor. Lavos holding Vincent in one arm as he panicked, looks towards him and looks towards the two of you, and is like, Selenay like leans forward and stands. He's like, "What just happened? Someone, Selenay, get over here!" I don't have anything left. Potions. Parker's like,
I have potions.
Matilda, I'll pay them back. He leans forward and uncorks 2 potions as he begins to pour one and then the other into your mouth, Vincent.
I don't think there's any left in the backpack.
What?
No! He just
Sorry.
opens empty
Tomato
vials
sauce.
and begins to pour them in.
Yeah.
I
Let me.
I think.
Vincent, roll a death saving throw.
Okay.
I think when Matilda wakes up immediately, she vomits up water and blood. Water that shouldn't be there. And it's gross looking water. And
Not 20. 21.
As you're just like, no. You fall back, you fall unconscious, blood rains, you land in Lavos' arms, and you just open your eyes again.
This is unnecessary, dear. Please let me out.
Parker's like, I tried to heal you, but there's no red in the bottles.
It's okay. You'll look up to Lavos. Thank you. But I can stand on my own.
The ash finalizes its movement towards you, halted for a brief moment in your transition to another place. But now, as the outcome is determined, with reverence they move towards you, and each individual fleck disappears in line into your body as you grow in power. And just a little spark of a title appears on your chest. And that title is The Golden Child. Lavos looks towards you and is like, fucking hell. You gotta stop scaring me like that, kid. You're gonna give me a heart attack. And oh my god, that might fucking cause earthquakes. I don't know.
Vincent just reaches into one of his pockets and pulls out a handkerchief and starts wiping the blood away from his ears and his eyes. My apologies. I'll let you know in advance if I can, dear.
Carson approaches after having led the individual back into the other room, and you see he opens the door, hair in front of his face. See, throws the hair back and moves forward and leans down and takes that handkerchief and begins to do that for you. He's like, did something just happen?
Dear.
Did something? Are you all right?
Yes, of course. Why wouldn't I be?
Well, to be honest with you, I felt something uncomfortable.
We'll have a chat later, dear. For right now, I think we should deal with my own family business.
Very well. He just kind of like stands up. You are on death's door, but the fun of the ash bond is that 1 HP or 100, you're spry and peppy.
Yeah,
So as you
same.
stand literally like a crab's pincher away from death's door, you find yourself once again in this small area. Lavos is just raising a hand to his head. He says, I did manage to infiltrate whatever the fuck that was, but it took like 2 to 3 seconds. How long were you in there?
About 2 to 3 seconds. I don't know.
Oh no, Matilda can tell you
Felt like-
exactly how long.
Much longer than that.
Matilda, you're like probably close to a minute, a little over.
Sorry about the decor. It looked pretty dreadful in my opinion.
I tried to use magic and it almost made me go unconscious.
As Matilda has 1 hit point. Which
So
is
Lene
why
looks over towards you and she's like, I need to... Hey, are you all right? Here, I have a medicine kit. This is useful. She places it down. She's like, Matilda, do you want to teach me how to use this? And then she begins to attempt to bandage you up while you help her teach her.
Well, my apologies. Maybe we should put some sort of contingency in place for this. I didn't realize that... Well, I had an inkling that this would be difficult, but I was hoping to not involve you. So, I'm just glad you guys are okay.
I think next time maybe we should rest first.
Seems a little counterproductive, but definitely noted.
You see Selene seems shaken.
I'm sorry, dear. This seems to be my fault.
I don't think it's your fault, Vincent.
Either way, I take responsibility. Let's take Carson up on that tea. Let's go upstairs and rest a bit. Did we gain the benefits of a long rest even though me and Matilda are at 1 HP?
You guys, Matilda, you have been hurt. So in this instance, just your hit points have been reduced, but you did gain long rest, all of your exhaustion, and every other kind of debilitating effect will be gone. But this one was post your rank break, so the hit point reduction has been done. And Vincent, yours, basically same thing. Like both of you have long rested, any exhaustion you have are gone, but your hit points have been damaged.
That's fine.
Speaking of which,
Vincent will look
hit
towards
points.
her. Yeah, and he'll cast a spell.
Well, hold on. Were my hit points like all the way up to max then before this or not yet?
Yes.
Okay, well then I wouldn't be at 1 hit point. I had it from
Okay.
like what I had previously.
Gotcha. Yes, as soon as you finish your rank breaks, or not even rank breaks, but just level ups, you basically gain 2 long rests.
Okay, well
in
never
order
mind.
to get-
Don't waste your spells.
Too late. You've been healed for 13 hit points.
It's not a waste. We just had 2 long rests.
You still got hurt by 18 hit points.
Yeah, I
so-
did.
So you're healed up another 13.
I'm just
It's not
rolling
even
my
two-
dice right now.
I guess it's literally just as many long rests as you need, because it removes your levels of exhaustion as well. But Selene grabs Lavos' hand and says, my turn, come on. And pulls him over into the house as he's like, all right, yeah, it's a good idea. As she makes her way to the cloistered basement to complete her own rank break, or level. You all return to the manor. And you sit in for a moment. Maybe half a minute later, Selene returns upstairs and looks towards everyone and says, who's still hurt? She moves over towards Vincent and leans
Yeah,
down
it's-
and goes
it's
to cast
simply-
Cure Wounds.
It's nothing.
Matilda, are you all right?
Yes,
I healed
I'll be
her.
okay.
Okay. All right. I'm glad. She looks over to Paka, and Paka's just like,
We're okay now.
Should we roll for HP? I know Killian just did.
you may.
Okay.
What do we got going for Vincent? You got a D6 plus 1.
So 4.
And then Matilda.
8. On 4. It is 0, so just a D8. Okay, hold on.
If ever you increase your con, though, that will retroactively just increase in full.
Okay.
Beauty.
Yes.
You all find yourself now resting within the manor. Selene returns. Lavos comes in. He sits down. All right. I think I'm going to spend some time in the city with maybe Helm. I'm going to seek him out. Something. God of protection. I need something more.
Age, I do have a quick question.
Yeah.
This could have affected the outcome a bit. When we were in the blank space and Vincent took all of that damage, had he leveled yet or no?
At that point, you had leveled, yes.
Then I wouldn't have gone unconscious at all.
But the decision hadn't been made yet, and it was after
Yeah, that's
you
why I
came
was
back that it
confused.
finished.
Basically, because when you were in the midst of this entire process, that had already regenerated and rejuvenated you. By the end of the process that was a determining factor for something else. But the reason that you even sustained the damage and kept it was because it was already finished. Had you not yet finished your level up, when you awoke afterwards, the damage would have been healed.
No, but what I'm saying is, had I take that 39 psychic damage, I would have been at 4 HP, not unconscious.
Totally fine. So in this case, then, I would say the outcome is still the same. In this psychic spike that had torn through your mind, your resilience had kept you up, essentially. Because when you went down and you just awoke immediately, that was basically the same situation as not going down in the first place. As you all find yourselves within the manor, Lavos kind of just sits back. You can see he's just a bit exhausted and looks on towards everybody as they've just leveled and just sweat down his brow. Says, right, yeah, okay, no time to waste. He reaches over and grabs his cap, throws it on, looks down towards the cultist and is like, Matilda, what do you want to do with this one?
You can stay with me for the next little bit until we figure out what's going on. I don't feel right kicking them out when they're not doing so good.
Stay with you like how?
I don't know, they can follow me around for now, and I'll take care of them, but then if they need to sleep, they can stay in my room.
I don't know how much I want a
That seems a little
cult
odd,
tied into the
Matilda.
family home.
Oh, okay.
My only thing is the fact that I have my mother here and stuff. Can you
Okay.
ensure her protection? Are you able to keep this individual under wraps? And then when we go into the dungeon, it's going to be difficult to keep track of him.
I'll talk to Momel and Pom Pom and see if we can figure something out.
I don't think it's necessarily a bad idea to have this one, and wherever that leads it's an asset, I suppose. But it would be difficult to tie it directly into the family in such a way. I don't think we should try and make those connections. It could be detrimental to other gods in the city. Might close some doors. So I'd say let's try and keep this as under wraps as possible. Also, one thing that I messed up before, because I just looked up days to hours for your studying. 125 days of 8-hour days is only 1,000 hours, not 3,000. Yeah, so I brought that down substantially because I was wrong in the first place.
How many hours?
1,000. As you guys kind of find yourselves here, the day is yours. The morning, eventful, but ties in before you. And what do you guys want to do?
Killian wants to head to her smithy.
Did anyone else want to join with that as well?
Is the smithy on the way to the library?
No, opposite directions.
Yeah.
Assuming the library is in the kind of
It's
Mistra
district.
area. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which library are you heading to?
The one, I'm assuming the one we had the library card for.
Yeah, that one for
yep.
now.
The owl, gotcha. For these scenes, though, you guys can absolutely be a part of them, or you can be separate if you like. But there's no oh, well, it's morning, and then morning will go away if we don't do this. So like in tandem or together. Basically, the way I see this is that there's 2 days. During those 2 days, you guys can interact with whatever and however. You were heading to the library. What were you heading to the library for?
Research.
What were you researching?
Right now, she's going along the vein of like trying to see if there's any record of the before the history went missing or after, and like who wrote the history. Like just trying to see if there's any way you could fill in the gaps, looking up like old Autitian faith, like all the kind of stuff that we were having a lot of like theories about that seems to tie in with the real world. And also looking into like old maps and stuff for like if there's anything that kind of matches the area that you think that Psalm could be from, or anywhere that has a name that's similar that looks like it could have been changed to erase it from history but is not 100% like gone. Trying to see if there's a cover up and see like what, and also too if there was a war, the victors write the history, but then you can always find a little bit of grain and truth in the people that have written the history and try to figure out what actually happened.
Gotcha. So scouring about the history of the dungeon and any connections that it has to the real world outside, alongside the missing history of the world.
Yeah, because she feels like they're correlated. Also, looking into the damage of the weave too, like what information we could find.
I feel like we'll probably need to stick to one topic per.
Cool, that's fine.
And then Vincent, what was it you wanted to do?
Vincent, right now, he has 2 things he wishes to do today. I'll just do one for right now. He's probably going to head over to the Black Sheep at some point, and he will extend an invitation to you guys if you wish to just have a nice, lunch or something this afternoon.
Yeah, I could go for lunch.
Yes.
Yeah.
But he'll follow Killian to her smithy in the morning.
Same. I don't like her going on her own.
I don't want you to go by yourself. There's a lot of weird stuff going on with goblins.
Yeah, but I'm not by myself. I have Bladebeak.
Do you not want us coming along, dear?
It's up to you. I'm just going to try to see if I can find who's using my shop.
Interesting. I was only going to come along. I have some work I can do on the way, and if you want, I can look at some of your stuff, maybe your books, and walk around the shop and assess it. Give you some tips for later on.
Sure. Yeah. I don't want you not to come with me. It's just, I just figured everyone else had things to do.
There's always things to do, dear.
As you guys enter into the carriage on the outskirts of town, and you see Fairland kind of just feeding the horses and leaning back, and then gets them bridled up. You begin to take off from Old Town proper. As Lavos also kind of, you see him just throw on a hat and is, all right, I'm going to go out into the city for a bit. I want to try and drum things up. Really need to, I need to make some connections.
That you do, dear. Let me know if I can help you in that matter.
Well, I will. I'm going to drum up some interest first, so. He heads out, and as he just exits the threshold and closes the door, he's gone.
Oh, one more thing, Lavos. I might have an inkling where you can start.
He's already gone.
Oh.
Unfortunately. You open the door to speak to him, and he's disappeared. However, you do hear a, from the first floor. Window opens, and you see a small raven that pokes its head out to the side and stares at you.
Go find Alexi. Let him know I sent you. I think it'd be beneficial to maybe see if we can hire a guard for the grounds. He might be able to let you know if someone's interested.
The raven hops its way out, jumps up, grabs the top of the wooden window with its beak, and just begins to wiggle until eventually it closes. It turns and just flies off. As you all arrive, you move through the city and you find the small bustling market at the base of both Helm and Tyr's district. Outside of Killian's group home, you traverse across the street until eventually you find Killian's smithy. You can see that there is a a prominent sign over the top of the smithy that has been built and now erected. Killian, what does the sign say?
Ah, yes. The sign says "Kill or be killed."
Staring up towards the smithy itself, I think this is the first time that you guys have seen it relatively in its renovated glory, having, I believe, seen it once before as a shack, but now it stands as a very fine-looking shop, kind of squished between two larger buildings at the end of a small catwalk.
Not bad, dear. It's quite upgraded from the last time I saw it.
You.
Did Lavos help you with some of those?
The sign?
Well, that and Vincent looks at like the door and all the woodwork. It seems similar, so I'm just curious.
I think so. Killian actually can't really remember because I think she just dumped a bunch of gold, told Lavos that the work was going to be going on, and I think he said he was going to take a look.
When you look at it, it has the same Greek wave pattern that he puts into almost all of his work, and it's just always it's not very innovative, but it's very nice looking.
Mm-hmm.
He's not the idea man, is where I'm getting from that.
Mhm.
As you arrive at the smithy, you can hear the sound of movement on the inside.
All right. Well, I just have Bladebeak stand outside, and I head on in.
As you move in, you open the door, and immediately just a burst of smoke tears out from the inside of it.
And so we'll cast Gust to try and make sure none of it touches him.
Yeah, pushing it off to the side, the smoke billows out and just slams against the wall. As the last bit exits the area, you look inside, and you can just hear this kind of loud grinding sound. Just in the back before... as soon as the door reaches its full zenith, hits several just bing, 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 bing bells at the top. It's I'll be right with you, I'll be right with you. Just take a look if there's anything you like. Don't steal it. 5 or 6 seconds later, an individual pops out. You see these massive just Coke glasses that are layered individually and then just pop, pop, pop. Brings various different ones down and just begins to look at you. Every step that this individual takes, just readjusting to get focus in before eventually just throwing the whole fucking thing off her head. And you can see this frazzled-haired individual, very small and rosy-cheeked gnomish woman who is staring towards you, and it's just who are you?
Same question to you. I own this place.
You're Killian! It's nice to meet you! Strides forward, grabs you with both hands and just begins to shake. I'm Lucine. My name's Lucine. I got your message. That was quite a bit of innovative work. I didn't expect you to be able to work with the more intricate things. It was what I hoped, to be honest. And that's. Hello. And then these two, who are they?
Family members.
Hello.
This is
Vincent Goldwater.
Oh,
Matilda.
hello! She reaches a hand out to each of you and shakes, and then she pulls out a small pouch, and it's just I owe you, or your family, I guess, or not your family, your business, the Goldwater Trading Company. I told you that I would pay up, and I am today, so you don't need to send your hounds after me anymore. And she takes out a small gold pouch and hands it over towards you.
I would recommend keeping a hold of that, dear.
different, same Goldwater, different company.
Oh. And nobody's tried to kill you for having that name or using that name or anything of the like?
Not lately.
Okay. Oh, I've caught up.
Sorry, dear. I didn't get to choice in the matter. I was born with it.
Well,
either way, Killian, do you usually hire help and not know who you hired?
no, so I took up residence in this shop in order to prove my worth to Killian because I thought maybe we could work together for something. I've heard a lot about you, and there's also a lot of the rumors going about a goblin was purchasing up steel during the drought, and I thought, oh, that's a goblin I'd like to work with. And do you have said steel by chance?
Technically, and she just does a little whistle to call Bladebeak into the shop.
She, as soon as Bladebeak is visible, this woman's just like, oh, strides. May I touch? May I touch it?
Yeah, go ahead. Bladebeak, let her
Just
do whatever.
She got mithril on this.
Just mithril on there. Just again, like, just stares forward towards the beak and the front chest plating and is, what did you, it's so malleable. Where did you get mithril? What, at all this? So, sorry for, all of this. I noticed that your shop was uninhabited, and I thought, well, that's a massive waste. The thing's just crying out for occupancy. But truth be told, I just wanted to kind of get your attention, and it seems like I've accomplished that. She's just enamored now by Bladebeak.
Because Killian knows how focused a lot of tinkers tend to get, she's just gonna really quickly toy soldier Bladebeak, just to remove the distraction. Just like pockets it. Yeah, I mean, you seem like a nice person, and I'd love to talk more and go over the shop. I mean, you're right, the shop's really big, and I'm always in the dungeon anyway, so it's a waste to just be empty. We can discuss, working together or rentals. And like at this point, Killian's like just using buzzwords that she's heard about business and like housing, and just kind of like looks
After
to, like,
I think
Vince for
passively,
help.
I picked up on that, and I'll connect into Killian's head and start giving her like the act, like just being like, repeat after me.
Matilda has a really creepy smile and he says, "Yes, a contract."
That's
Killian immediately is like, no contracts.
No contracts. I'm afraid I cannot abide that. We need everything down in writing, comfortably, carefully,
That's
meticulously.
fine. You just don't want contracts the way her family does contracts.
She looks over towards you and is like, "Well, you seem lovely. I don't see any." Okay, I'll take you at your word. I tell you what, I have a little bit of a shop as well, just over in the whatever that place is called, Yondalis district and all of that garbage. But I'm barely there. It practically runs itself. So I wouldn't mind. This place is very quaint and quiet and comfortable. So I'm happy to work with you for anything. I do, however, have a request. I've noted that your work, and she points towards the toy soldier, it's impeccable. And I'm not quite so good with shaping larger pieces of metal. Small, intricate, that's my wheelhouse. That's a little bit of a pun there. But it's not... I have a job for you. If you're interested.
Is it the plant watering automaton? Because I gave you a couple pointers for that.
No. Although those were good, actually, and I added in a little bit of my own as well. But no, I'm thinking actually it's a stone cutting machine of sorts. Very large scale, and it needs to be somewhat automated. Just to prepare, there's a booming sculpture business going on in the north of Amaranth right now, just south of the Blue Mountains, and that's massive gold. And God, I do love some gold. So if you'd be interested in helping me build this machine, I think we could work very well together. It's settled. She reaches a hand, is like, we should shake on it.
Details.
All right, I like this a lot. So, fizzy water, where did I put it? Well, I'll tell you what. I have a gift for you as a thank you, but I don't know where it is. I'm gonna go find it. And for now, make yourselves comfortable. Well, it's your business. I'll be right back. And she makes her way outside before the door kind of swings closed and hits all four of those bells again.
Killian, dear, are you I'm getting the sense you might be a little overwhelmed, but is this an individual you do want to work with?
I mean, to be perfectly honest, I didn't think anyone would want to in the first place, so that already kind of puts them higher on the list. But they do seem to have some skill. I'm a little concerned that they're in debt to your father's company.
Well,
I feel like
grandfather.
Sorry, yeah, I right. The father's the one that sucks us into darkness and tries to kill us.
Understandable after last night.
Yeah.
I think they're paying for protection or something. It sounds like, kind of, you know.
Well,
The Goldwater's tricky.
Also, I think your feelings about people not wanting to work with you has to stem more from your lack of self-esteem in your work than it has anything to do with your skill. So, I'm not surprised people want to work with you.
sorry, you're not surprised people don't want to work with me?
No,
or
I'm
do?
not surprised that they do, because you're very good at what you do. But you don't think you are. So that's why you think that no one will want you.
I mean, I know I'm good. I just don't have. Up until now, before Lavos, I didn't have the chance to prove it.
Oh,
Opportunities come, and Vincent looks around to see if I can't remember if Paka didn't come, right?
Paka's not currently with you.
Okay. Opportunities come in with the Lavos, and I think with that comes a certain amount of reputation. Of course, Killian, all of this is your own doing. This is ourselves. It was just in you. You just needed a little help.
Yeah. Did anyone see an ash bond on her?
Not that I could tell.
Vincent, with your passive perception, you did take note that there was an opal tattoo that was kind of moving across her shoulder. She basically was wearing coveralls, like exposed shoulders, a small cotton shirt, and somewhat puffy kind of workers' pants, thick to avoid sparks.
So instead of saying what he said, he'll be like, I did notice a little bit of a shiny tattoo on her shoulder. Opal, I think it was. Seems
Okay.
quite up the alley for a tinkerer.
Yeah. No, didn't glance at the family, huh?
I have a feeling she might be equated with the area that she owns her shop in, so maybe Alondra?
That makes sense. Okay. Well, you miss every chance you don't take, right? And if I
Very true, dear.
worry too much about who I'm spending time with or hiring, then I'm not gonna spend time or hire anyone. So yeah, let's do it. Would this be is this like a rent thing? Is this
halfway
am I
through that
hiring
thought, the doorway opens again, and then she approaches and she's like, I found it! Here it is, it was outside. She places down a small, gear. It basically just looks like a small handheld music box nearly, and then she just begins to spin the top until it cranks, and then as it opens, it just lets out this just small burst of water that just begins to flood the ground. And based on the small container itself, just the amount of liquid that's been stored in this thing is actually quite impressive. She's like, I call it a compressor! And it lets out this loud, just water sound. Vincent, you begin to move forward. And as you see this...
I'm not moving forward. I'll just shape water the water off the ground and try and just hold it in a globe in the air. It's not polite to dirty the establishment you work in.
Water cleans things! As the water continues to let out, you pull it into a sphere, and you see the sphere continue to grow and grow and grow before eventually it dies down, and she's like, first impressions. And that is where we will end today's session. As she sits back and looks towards all of you, just super satisfied with having flooded your shop almost, and looking on towards all this, just beaming smile across her face. That is where we'll pick up next time. So, thank you all for coming, and until next time. Bye, everybody.
See ya.
Bye.
You guys did the wing.
yeah.